To me, that's the next phase of all this.
You have photos of this thing?
Yep.
Where can someone see that?
It's on the website, SeriousDisclosure.com. If you link to the CE5 part of it, there's a whole section of this strange luminous thing. And what was seen right before this happened, which is really important for people to understand, was something about half the size of about the size of my fist or a little bigger. It was like a sphere that floated over the desert in November of 2009. And then we heard what sounded like a group of people talking. But with our night scope, there's nothing there. And then a woman on my team took a photograph, and in that area where this had happened, there was this being.
And did you see this with your eyes, or is it just...
No, because this would have been in a flash, but it's in the digital.
Is it possible that it's just an artifact?
No, it's not an artifact. Absolutely not.
Why is that not possible? I mean, flashes always produce artifacts. They produce
orbs. She did not use a flash.
Oh, okay.
It was visible. The flash was... So in other words, this was no flash bulb. We don't allow flash photography when we're out. You got to have good night scopes. You have to have good cameras. You can adjust the ISO and the aperture and all that. The most you're going to see when we're out there is maybe an LED on a camera.
Have you ever been aboard a spaceship?
I've had some really amazing contact experiences. You know, I had one when I was 18 years old, up on this mountain up in. And that becomes the whole question: is what part of what people are reporting is real, and what part is Memorex? And This is something we haven't talked about yet. But what is the capacity for the intelligence community to hoax contact?
You think a lot of people they're hoaxing contact?
Yeah, for scaring the hell out of people.
Like in what way? How do they do that?
One of the things we learned about a number of years ago is actually not something I discovered. It was a man here who was looking into what are called military-related abductions that are made to look ET but aren't. And you get into this whole question of what are they able to stagecraft for its psychological warfare value. And I have a document that's actually going to be in the film, and it's from the Strategic Studies Institute, talking about the staging of abductions and other scary things to create fear around the UFO issue.
So they create an artificial spacecraft and abduct people?
Well, they may use what's called an ARV, an alien reproduction vehicle that's man-made. They may use robotic things that are called PLFs, programmed life forms, that are man-made but look very ET.
Programmed life forms?
Yeah, PLFs.
They have life forms that are like robots, essentially, that move around like people?
Oh, yeah. I think Stan Romanek, if you look at the photograph he had of this thing, I think he was on Larry King or in some other shows, and this thing, Boo, that goes up and down. He's got a photo, and then there's a video. And it's this very robotic looking, it looks like a, quote, alien, but we know it isn't. You know, the question is, why would they want to do something like that? I think if you can put enough information out there to scare people, why not?
Because they're showing the DARPA robots, what they're doing in Japan. No one has come anywhere close to doing something along those lines. Not only that, they all have an external power source.
Well, but you're assuming that the things that you know about are all that they're in existence. But it's like saying that because you haven't flown on one of Lockheed's or Northrop's anti-gravity devices, they don't have those either. I think that...
Do they have those?
Yes.
They
absolutely.
Do? 100%?
Yes.
How does
and
it
Ben
work?
Rich all but said so, who's the head of Lockheed Skunk Works. So these are a lot of the things that people will see out near the Nellis Range, or so-called Area 51, that are moving in these ways we were talking about earlier. Those are man-made. Those aren't ET. And if you go all the way back to the 40s in Germany during World War II and after, they were doing a lot of experiments with things that do electromagnetic lifter effect. And going back a little further, you look at T. Townsend Brown in late 1920s, and then also the Klosky-Frost experiment, where they actually were able to create this effect of levitation and movement. So, again, there's a whole science here. And in the open aerospace literature in the late 40s and early 50s, they were saying the next big thing is gravity control and anti-gravity stuff and da-da-da-da-da, and then it went black. And one of the guys that I work with at the Naval Research Labs, which is the largest Department of Defense lab, told me that it was October of '54 when we really mastered gravity control, and all those projects went black. They just disappeared. But up until then, you can go back and find in the literature. Now, the fact that your average person at MIT doesn't know about this doesn't mean it didn't exist. And I think that there's a whole history of aerospace and technology that's hidden. Similarly, there's a whole history of robotics, genetics, biological studies, and what have you, that have also been kept very classified.
You are either one really nutty dude, or you are a guy who has tapped into one of the craziest pieces of information that's being suppressed from the American public, and there's no room for a middle ground. You know,
I know that every word I'm telling you is true. And you know what? I was told years ago that if you really told the whole truth about this, that it'll hide itself because no one can believe it. So it's a real problem, because how far do you go in terms of telling what you know and have discovered? But who's looking and who's asking?
Right.
Well, not 2020. You know, I mean, you asked about 2020. The guy who's executive producer of that came out to my house. I gave him 35 hours of digital stuff of all these top secret guys, all the documents, all this stuff. He said, this is the biggest story. It's either all a hoax or it's the biggest story in history. I said, yeah, well, I think it's the latter. And he says, I want to do this story. I said, I don't think they'll let you. And so we went back to corporate ABC, and a couple weeks later, he said, Dr. Greer, they won't let me do this story. I said, who are they, Ira? And he said, well, you know who they are.
What's his name?
Ira Rosen.
I'd love to talk to him on the Question Everything show. That'd be fascinating.
And one of the documents that's up on our website, I wrote an article called Media Play, and in it is a document I got from the 1990s from the CIA that talks about how the CIA had embedded in all the major media people to change, alter, or stop stories. And this is an official document. So, if the public listening out there think we really have a free market and a free media, wake up. This is simply not the case. So I think that one of the challenges we've had is that if all this were true, wouldn't the media just really want to cover this? And I say, yeah, there are some really good people in the media who wanted to, but they're not allowed to. And so then this goes away, who controls the big media? But I'm not talking about your show.
Yeah, because how many shows are out there dedicated to looking for UFOs? There seems like there's quite a bit, and those shows are owned by, big media companies and networks that promote these shows.
I think a lot of it's shock and drivel and bread and circus. And I think that if it was just about ratings and just about whether there was anything legitimate there to cover, this would be in the news all the time. So there's something weird going on here, because they'll cover all kinds of sensationalistic nonsense. But, you have dozens of top secret witnesses, you have legitimate government documents, you have photographs, video, or you have teams like ours going out having these sort of experiences. That isn't covered. You have to ask the question, why? The wonderful thing that didn't exist 5 or 10 years ago, Twitter, Facebook, video on demand. You don't have to go to a big distributor. And actually, by the way, we're planning to distribute this film at the night of the premiere, so that there's no chokeholds in the big media. And then you couldn't have done that 5 or 10 years ago with any kind of value. Now you can do high definition. You can do really good video on demand, and we're going to do this so that everyone can sign up to be an affiliate distributor, so that basically, if you want to distribute the show, you can distribute it. And you just build that out, because what we want to do is make this thing go viral, so that we don't get into the chokeholds. My experience with it is that I'm very, very skeptical of the big media doing anything with this until they have to. And then it becomes where there's too much noise out there, we have to give it a little bit of lip service, and then we'll take it off again. So that's why, by the way, we did this crowdfunding. Because if you went to a studio or a group of investors, you don't know what they're going to do with it if they control it. This way, the people own it. So.
Well, listen, man, this is a fascinating subject. Like I said, it's one of my personal interests, and it has been since I was a small child. And to talk to you was a real treat. I really appreciate it.
I really appreciate it.
You put your neck out there, man. You say a lot of nutty shit, and it takes a lot of courage to do that, or you're crazy. I'm willing to be completely open to the point of I'll go out to the desert with you. I'll do whatever it is. I'm fascinated by all this stuff, and if what you're saying is true, it is, one of the most mind-blowing things our society has ever had access to, has ever been able to encounter. I mean,
right.
It's pretty crazy shit, man.
Well, welcome to the new millennium, because now it's time. Here we go.
I hope you're right. I mean, I hope this isn't just crazy talk. April 22nd is the day.
SeriousDisclosure.com, and you can go there and you can get the tickets and everything and sign up right there. Everything can be done online.
Okay, so April 22nd is when it's all going down, and that is hopefully you will already have the information from this Ivy League Institute about this alien being by then, correct?
Or this humanoid being that we don't know what it is.
Yeah, whatever it is.
And we will. We already have a lot of it, but we're waiting for the final genetic sequencing.
Okay, and if people want to follow you on Twitter, it's Dr. Stephen Greer, Steven, Steven, not one of those weirdos that says Steven, but it's with a PH.
Who does that?
Some weirdos.
No, PH here.
Yeah, a lot of weirdos. Stephen PH. That's Stefan, right?
Stefan.
Okay. Dr. Stephen Greer, Steven Greer. And one more time, the website is
SeriousDisclosure.com, SIRIUS Disclosure.com.
This has been a fascinating conversation. Thank you very much. It's been really interesting, and I'm really looking forward to seeing where this goes.
We'll see you at the premiere.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Will you do this again? Will you come by?
Yeah, I'd love to.
In
It'd be
LA
great.
around the time of the premiere?
Yeah, we'll have to with all the new findings.
Yes, please. All right, we're going to have some fun. Listen, folks, thanks for tuning in.